Hey guys, Mrs. Dupont here. I wanted to go ahead and video a little talk for you because there's a couple things that we've been doing that I want to go over with you. I want to give you a little feedback for. We've been talking about this idea of joy, of finding joy no matter what. We're using the book of St. Paul's letter to the Philippians to show that you can have joy regardless of what your circumstances are. But one of the things we need to get clear is the difference between happiness and joy, because I'm still seeing that come out in some of your reflections that you're writing for me. Okay, so to be joyful doesn't mean that you're happy all the time. Okay, to be joyful is more a sense of, in the long run, things are going to work out. You have hope. There's a certain amount of contentment in the knowledge that God is going to take care of you no matter what. You may not know how he's going to do it. You may not know exactly what else is coming your way, but in the end you have that faith that God is going to take care of you no matter what. That is what brings joy. It doesn't mean that joyful people are happy all the time. One of the things you had to do in one of the reflections was talk to me about someone you find that brings joy. And I noticed in a lot of those people, they have a very positive attitude. That's true, and they are joyful, but that doesn't mean they're happy all the time. In fact, some of the people you mentioned are people that have had a lot of hardship in their life, but they chose to look at it through a certain perspective and have a certain amount of joy with it. Okay, so let's keep that in mind when we're talking about joy. It's different than just, woohoo, being happy all the time. The next concept we were supposed to talk about was being humble or humility. And it was very clear to me in these reflections that you didn't bother to go through the reading part of it. Okay, some of you even didn't even use the right word. You know who you are that wrote to me all about being humiliated and humiliation, like falling down the stairs and everybody laughing at you. Yeah, had you read through the stuff, you would realize that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about being humble, okay? Humility is knowing your own self-worth while remaining humble. So what does it mean to be humble? Okay, a lot of you are confused about this. To be humble doesn't mean that you put yourself down, that you think you are less worthy than what other people are. That's not what it means at all. God gave you certain gifts. There's nothing wrong with being proud of those gifts. It's what you do with those gifts on your own. The gift comes from God. Okay, what you do with that gift and how you develop it is cause for self-esteem. You should have good self-esteem. This idea of being humble, though, is realizing that this gift came from somewhere else and that everybody is endowed with certain gifts and your gifts may not be better than anybody else's. Okay, so let's get this idea out of our minds that humility or being humble is somehow putting yourself down. That's not at all what it means. One of you wrote very nicely that humility is knowing one's self-worth while remaining humble. Okay? Can you be proud and be humble at the same time? Yes, you can. You should be proud of your accomplishments. Okay? God would not want any of us putting ourselves down. That doesn't mean we can't be proud of ourselves and put other people first. The best line of this came from, I'm not sure, it might have been John Kaloji. First of all, he said that his father lives by an acronym JOY. Jesus first, then others, then yourself. I really like that. And I also like the line of, humility isn't thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less. Okay, and putting other people before you. So let's be very clear about that. And again, I can tell when you haven't read the stuff and you're just going straight to these reflection questions. And so far, I'm kind of giving you a break because this is difficult circumstances that we're under. And that's why we're not using the textbook and we're just going to this kind of reflective stuff instead. But I need you to do the assignments as I'm giving them to you, okay? And stop trying to cut corners because it's going to start showing up in your grades, okay? I'm kind of getting a little bit tired of it. The next thing, and I do want to compliment you all. We took this idea of joy and with others, and I asked you to apply it to our school, and you all had phenomenal ideas, really, really great ideas, things that I hadn't thought of, and I've gone through them. I've made a list of the ones that everybody liked. For instance, bringing back the service projects. You were across the board interested in that. We will try to go ahead and do that again. And a lot of different ideas, having a lot more spirit things like when we had the cornhole tournament, and doing something like a ping pong tournament, Jenga tournament, anything like that, and maybe kind of alternate throughout the year. 1 month a service project, next month, a spirit thing. So you guys did a great job on that, and we will be discussing that further because those were really, really good. Okay, so yesterday, I believe, we started the 3rd chapter of Philippians, and our theme this week is joy that is never ending, finding joy no matter what the circumstances. And you have to do an exercise where you thought back on last Christmas 2019, and it's kind of scary to think that was just a few months ago, and how very, very different things were. And what would you say to yourself on that Christmas, last Christmas, if you would have known what was coming? And the early answers that I'm getting from a lot of you is having a lot more gratitude. I would have spent time with my grandparents, who I don't get to see now. I would have done more social things, maybe with my friends. I know when I answer that question for myself, I get caught up in a lot of dumb little details that don't need to be done. And I would have gotten rid of them and quit trying to have just, the perfect Christmas for everybody, and just maybe really enjoyed everybody's company a little bit more. So I'm looking forward to reading the rest of those. But for right now then, we're going to go ahead and move on, and I'm going to give you the assignment for today. Keep in mind that when Paul is writing this entire book of Philippians, that he is in prison. In fact, literally chained to a guard with him 24 hours a day. We may feel like our freedom to do whatever we want has been temporarily taken from us. Okay, remember, it's nothing compared to what Paul went through. Paul's attitude in the middle of these tough times shows that your perspective on things is a choice. You can choose to choose how you're going to look at something. You cannot always choose what happens to you. This pandemic is cosmic. It's something that has been forced on us. What you do have control over is how you respond to that. And you can respond to it with joy, knowing that this is, going to end sooner or later, or you can respond to it with pessimism that, you're going to be miserable for the rest of your life. Remember, Paul says whatever happens, and we are definitely living in that category of whatever happens, rejoice in the Lord. Rejoice means to show great joy. So, when you woke up this morning, how was it? Did you feel joy? Okay, did you show joy to anyone? That being said, that can be really, really tough, depending on what our circumstances are. So I don't want to make it sound like you just wake up and say everything is rosy. It's not. Sometimes things are really, really crappy. But again, you choose how you want to respond to that. When Paul talks about having this constant joy, he's talking about living with a joyful attitude that's present no matter what. Doesn't mean you're going to be happy all the time. It doesn't mean that you're going to think that your circumstances are great. Okay, but you can still have that contentment, that knowing that God is going to take care of you. Being joyful can be your lifestyle, just like you put on certain clothes that tend to reflect your personality, or how you wear your hair or your tattoos or whatever. Okay, they show your personal style. An attitude of joy is the same thing. You wear it every day, you wear it with it wherever you go, and you are a joyful person. Paul goes on saying, he's telling the Philippian church to rejoice because it protects your faith. Being joyful protects your faith. When you rejoice in what God has done, or what you believe he will do, it strengthens your faith. So instead of feeling like the world is falling apart, God's joy fills you with that peace, that contentment, that he's going to take care of you no matter what. So when you feel worried or anxious, just remember everything God has done for you before and begin to feel that joy. So here's what I want you to do for me today. Very simple. I want you to type up and hand it in to me again by midnight tonight. What are you most grateful for right now? I understand that a lot of you are in circumstances that just really stink, but there's still things to be grateful for. So make me your quick list. Let's say 5 or so, okay? And it's okay for you to just list them. Okay, the 5 things you are most grateful for right now. Okay, and then the second question, a little more in depth, how can you change your perspective on your situation right now? Now, some of you may already be living joyfully, and that's okay. Go ahead and tell me that. But there's usually places, though, where you can improve that. So how can you change your perspective in your situation right now? For some of you, it may just be working on that motivation that I know is really, really hard. Okay, getting up, keeping a schedule, keeping a positive attitude. When I'm telling you all this, I realize it's not easy. It's not easy for me either. Okay, but if we can learn to do it, it's going to follow you your entire life. Okay, and no matter, and I hate to tell you this, you'll run into circumstances that are worse than what you're in right now. Okay, things are going to happen to you. And to be able to learn, okay, that it's you choose how you react to these things. You can choose that positive attitude. Okay? So let's go ahead and do that. Get it into me by midnight tonight. All right? And we will talk again. And I want you all to make sure you stay happy and holy and healthy. Okay? And watch morning prayer. See you later. Bye-bye.